Hello, hello. Welcome to Healthy Perspectives, a podcast that takes on current cultural and social issues through a clinical lens. Hello, hello. All right, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to stick with the theme of no theme for right now. So you're going to see that in the background until I get a couple of responses, and then I'll have some idea as to what makes it easier to set aside whatever's going on in my space and pay attention to the content. I want less distractions, more content-driven experience for you. So hopefully it works. Today is going to be very interesting for me. I told you all along, I hit hard cultural content, and today is going to be no exception. I am not on the teen programs theme today. I am moving into the political arena, not as a politician, but as a therapist. I want to first outline for you, in the world of therapy, we talk and train and learn about mediation. We are, as therapists, we have to mediate things pretty routinely. And so what that means is I'm going to outline for you a little glimpse into the debate that we saw between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. And I'm going to break it down in a way that I haven't seen it broken down yet. Doesn't mean it's not out there, but it's it's going to be interesting, folks. So hang with me. It's going to be a little bit on the rocky side because I am going to be using the YouTube to take you to actual debate content, not these clips that are out there. Because I don't want to use clips. I want you to see me fumbling through finding the locations that I have flagged to come back to. And I'm doing that so you can see I'm taking them directly from the debate. There is no editing on my part. There is nothing on my part that's distorting anything. I am trying to give you a glimpse. And with that, I want to highlight what we are going to be addressing is how crappy the mediators were. Now, many of you out there are probably instantly go, oh, he's a Trumper. That's not what I'm saying today. I'm not saying that at all. I am simply saying the mediators did a terrible job, and I can prove it. And look, if I am not in a place where I can be neutral, then it's important that I not be the mediator. Would that make sense? Come on, folks. That makes sense, right? If somebody cannot be neutral, they shouldn't be a mediator. I wouldn't, if I was working with a couple that is getting divorced, I wouldn't say, well, why don't you and her use your father to mediate? Terrible idea. Terrible idea. Even if he's really, really good at staying neutral. Because there's going to be moments where he sees his kid suffering and he's going to want to rescue. In a mediation, you can't have that. It doesn't work like that. And everybody has a slant. So we have to try to the best of our ability to find somebody who can be somewhat neutral. And let's be real. They didn't do it. They didn't do it at all. And I'm going to prove it. So hang with me, folks. All right. And again, I'm not telling you who to vote for. That is not this podcast. That is not what I'm doing here. You want to have that conversation with me? Come talk to me on the side. Happy to have that conversation. I don't mind telling people where I'm at. I'm happy to do it, but I'm a therapist. And I want to show you how this was not, in fact, mediation. So without any further delays, here's what I'm going to do. It's going to fumble around for a second, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this loaded up on my screen so that all of those that are following on Rumble, YouTube, and the like, you will be able to, wow, I just shrunk it down. You will be able to see the content that I'm talking about. So give me a second. I know I just made my first mistake. Sorry, folks. Hang in there. I'm going to get it. Okay. So let's blow this up for you. And it's going to be a little tricky for me, but hang in there. Let's start right here. At 6 minutes and 20 seconds in, it's starting there because this is actually the start. There was like 5 minutes or something like that of delay. And then there was another minute or something like that of them saying, here's the format, da, 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 da. And then voila, here we are. They met in the middle ish. They sort of met on Trump's side. That was kind of an awkward intro for the two of them. Instead of going out and going right to their podium, Kamala Harris came across and shook Donald Trump's hand. I think that's a good courtesy to do. And I appreciated that. They were friendly-ish to each other. But it was awkward. It was one of those socially awkward moments. Those things happen. And here we go. First clip. Just listen to the words that they said.
To a spirited and thoughtful debate.
So let's get started. I want to begin tonight with
welcome to a spirited and thoughtful. We hope to have a spirited and thoughtful debate. We hope to have a spirited and thoughtful debate. And here's where it started to go bad for ABC and the hosts or the mediators of the debate. It wasn't a debate. I'll show you one moment in there where it looks like a debate. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and skip right to it. I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to jump around. I'm going to ignore my notes. I'm going to go all the way up to 29 minutes flat. For those of you who following along, you're seeing me do this. Listen to this. This is almost a debate. And there was like one, maybe two moments in the entire thing like this.
Fertilization, IVF. And the other thing, you should ask, will she allow abortion in the 8th month, 9th month, 7th month?
Come on.
Okay, would you do that? Why don't you ask her that question?
Why don't you answer the question? Would you
because
veto?
Under Roe v.
Answer
Wade,
the question, would you veto?
you could do abortions in the 7th month, the 8th month, the 9th
That's
month,
not true.
and probably after birth. Just look at the former governor of Virginia. The governor of Virginia said we put the baby aside and then we determine what we want to do with the baby.
President Trump, thank you.
we're going to turn now to immigration and
Folks, I know. Did you hear it? Please tell me you heard it. It was close to becoming an actual debate. Very close right there. And what happened? I'm all about showing you how the hosts or the mediators or the one of the folks that's on the screen right now did not do their job well. They simply tried to move it along in this moment. That's it. We almost got some debate and they said, well, let's move it on. Why? It doesn't even make sense. It makes zero sense when you look at what the American people need to know in order to vote. Now, again, I'm not a political podcast, so I'm not telling you which side to pick. I am simply saying the hosts were biased. They were confirming their bias. They were setting up one party and not the other. And I got a lot more proof. The moment we almost had debate, they turned it off. They literally just moved it along, which is, I mean, I guess if they're scared of actually facilitating a real debate, then that makes sense. But if they're not, then that doesn't make any sense at all. Okay, so now we're going to go back. We heard the clip of the, we hope for a thoughtful and spirited and thoughtful debate. And then we're going to listen for a second and we're going to
Begin tonight with the issue that voters repeatedly say is their number one issue, and that is the economy and the cost of living in this country. Vice President Harris, you and President Trump were elected 4 years ago, and your opponent on the stage here tonight often asks his supporters, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? When it comes to the economy, do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
Okay, folks, the question is, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? Let me ask you, what would we expect here? An answer. Yes, no, little split. What do we get?
So I was raised as a middle-class kid, and I am actually the only person on this stage who has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class and working people of America. I believe in the ambition, the aspirations, the dreams of the American people.
Okay, folks, so that I don't bore you, I'm not taking this out of context. I promise you can go back and watch it yourself. Did you hear an answer in there? Is the economy better today? I am a child of no answer. None. I've got some plan, but this goes on for almost 2 minutes and there's no answer, which is fine. Politicians do this crap. But as a mediator, when they don't answer your question, what do you expect? You would expect a follow-up question. Could you please answer the question that we posed? Did that happen? No, it did not happen. It didn't happen. They never came back and said, can you please answer the question? So I brought that up because in this particular situation, that favored Kamala Harris. All right. Then we go on.
We're going to get to immigration and border security during this debate, but I would like to let Vice President Harris respond on the economy here.
Well, I would love to. Let's talk about what Donald Trump left us. Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment since the Great Depression. Donald Trump left us the worst public health epidemic in a century. Donald Trump left us the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War.
And what happens here? Folks, I know this is going to be a little mundane for those of you who are paying attention. But what happened here was these things that were presented by Kamala Harris, do you believe that they were challenged by a host? Are they factual? Well, I did a little research. They are, in fact, not factual. They were her propaganda. And they were never challenged by a host, or the mediators, which is not a big deal as long as the mediators consistently don't challenge one person or the other. So in this particular moment, as I was watching, I still didn't have a problem with it yet. But a mediator has to show that they are unbiased. And so what do you think happens? We get more and more and more examples. Just watch as I take you through little by little where we get these challenges, or lack of challenges, which is often the most important thing in this particular debate. We go up to 1313. And listen, is this going to be challenged? Of course not.
So Donald Trump has no plan for you. And when you look at his economic plan, it's all about tax breaks for the richest people.
Was that ever challenged by a host? No. Why do I bring this up? Because I want you to keep track that these things didn't get challenged on one side, but they did on the other. Don't worry, it's coming. So we go up to 14 minutes and 56 seconds, and we'll take another look.
Mr. President, I do want to drill down on something you both brought up. The Vice President brought up your tariffs. You responded, and let's drill down on this because your plan is what she calls is essentially a national sales tax. Your proposal calls for tariffs, as you pointed out here, on foreign imports across the board. You recently said that you might double your plan, imposing tariffs up to 20% on goods coming into this country. As you know, many economists say that with tariffs at that level, costs are then passed on to the consumer. Vice President Harris has argued it'll mean higher prices on gas, food, clothing, medication, arguing it costs the typical family nearly $4,000 a year. Do you believe Americans can afford higher prices because of tariffs?
What just happened, folks? This is part 2 of why ABC's hosts or mediators did such an awful job. Did you hear the way that was set up? This literally spoon-fed, by the way, Kamala Harris again. Now, if they did this on both sides, I don't have a problem with it. It's like a referee in a game being a terrible referee, but they're consistently terrible on both sides. The consistency matters. And in this particular case, these mediators were inconsistent. They applied one set of rules to Donald Trump and a totally different set of rules to Kamala Harris. What you just heard was, look, I'm going to count it, literally 40 seconds of a rant spoon-feeding Kamala Harris on how horrible Donald Trump is and how stupid his idea is. I don't care whether I agree with the idea or not. That is not appropriate for a mediator, or in this case, the host, because they're not a mediator, clearly. And this happens more than once. I will show you. I will show you again and again these themes that are coming out. That it's just terrible presentation of the content. Absolutely.
Economy was great.
Give me a second. It's going to start here in about 2 seconds.
Their economy was terrible.
Vice President Harris, I do want to ask for your response, and you heard what the president said there, because the Biden administration did keep a number of the Trump tariffs in place. So how do you respond?
Well, let's be clear that the Trump administration resulted in a trade deficit, one of the highest.
Did she answer the question, folks? Was she given a follow-up? No. And no. It didn't happen. Another check mark for Kamala Harris. Let's go on to, actually, let me back up here for a second, folks. The previous one that I did where he spoon-fed 40 seconds to Kamala Harris, well, to Trump, but on behalf of Kamala Harris, which was absolutely clear in there. I'll show you one other one out at 29 minutes that does the same exact thing. 29 minutes, 39 seconds. So just hang with me, folks. And you're going to see the exact same technique used here.
This country. Vice President Harris, you were tasked by President Biden with getting to the root causes of migration from Central America. We know that illegal border crossings reached a record high in the Biden administration. This past June, President Biden imposed tough new asylum restrictions. We know the numbers since then have dropped significantly. But my question to you tonight is, why did the administration wait until 6 months before the election to act? And would you have done anything differently from President Biden on this?
So I'm the only.
Folks, did you hear it? He made the question sound tough after he provides an answer for you. He sets the stage for you because you're too dumb to figure it out yourself. That's his thinking. I'm going to spoon feed this to Kamala Harris. I'm going to spoon feed this to the American people. That's not a mediator's role. It's just not a mediator's role. It should never happen like that. It should never happen like that. And the problem is, it's the exact same technique that he used to try to make Donald Trump look bad at 14 minutes and 56 seconds to 15:36. He uses it to try to make Kamala look like she's doing a job. Well, it's down significantly. It's getting better, that there's been a change. But why wait until 6 months before? I've spoon fed you the answer. Things are going to be great now because we've been on it. You know, as soon as it was, registered as a problem for the election, they're not going to say it to you that way. But that's what's happening here, folks. That's not mediation. That's propaganda. I told you I would prove it. You don't have to like what I'm saying. I don't care if you do. I'm a therapist. I'm looking at this from a neutrality, from a perspective of, is this content being given to you in a neutral manner, not from Kamala Harris or Donald Trump? We know they're not supposed to be neutral. But from the debate hosts, no, it's not happening. It's absolutely not happening. So let's go back. I'm going to show you more. And you just tell me, like, if you think I'm off base, go ahead and give me the feedback. But here's the thing. You can't do it. I'm not off base here. I'm not. So far, I have labeled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 specific examples that all favored Kamala Harris, which I wouldn't even have a problem with if the same thing was happening on the other side with Donald Trump. Okay, so I've shown you 2 rants by the hosts. Here's the 3rd rant by the host. I want you to hear it.
To turn to the issue of abortion, President Trump, you've often touted that you were able to kill Roe v. Wade. Last year, you said that you were proud to be the most pro-life president in American history. Then last month, you said that your administration would be great for women and their reproductive rights. In your home state of Florida, you surprised many with regard to your 6-week abortion ban because you initially had said that it was too short. And you said, quote, I'm going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks. But then the very next day, you reversed course and said you would vote to support the 6-week ban. Vice President Harris says that women shouldn't trust you on the issue of abortion because you've changed your position so many times. Therefore, why should they trust you?
Well, the reason
You don't even have to listen to the answer, although I encourage you to go and listen to it. But did you hear the setup? This is the other host saying, Trump, you basically suck and you keep changing your mind. Let's be real. Kamala Harris has changed her mind about a lot of things too. But this technique was never used on her. Ever in the debate. I've watched the whole thing. It was never used on her. And this technique is the problem because it's not a mediator's technique. It is a bias propagandist technique. I'm not a politician, folks. I'm a therapist. I'm just looking for neutrality, and I'm not finding it. That's it. Do what you want with it. You've got to figure this out. Then it gets really, really gross after this. I will prove it to you how filthy gross it gets. Okay. At 20 minutes and 12 seconds. So I'm just going to hit the button forward. This is where I want you to listen specifically for when he says they kill babies. They kill babies. Listen for it. You're not going to find it, but listen for it anyway.
have abortion in the 9th month. They even have, and you can look at the governor of West Virginia, the previous governor of West Virginia, not the current governor, who's doing an excellent job, but the governor before, he said the baby will be born and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words, we'll execute the baby. And that's why I did that, because that predominates, because they're radical.
Did you hear it? He is saying they talk about being willing to sign into legislation abortion up to the very moment of birth. Well, that's actually true. That's true. And the challenge there is the response. Give me a second. Let me get to it. Okay, I found it. Here we go.
Discredit to those 6 justices.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born.
So did y'all hear that? He's confronted by a mediator. Again, I would have no problem with that if what? The mediator were consistently confronting false information. But they don't. They literally confront Donald Trump, and they purposely do not confront Kamala Harris. You want proof? You want proof, folks? Watch. 21:17. Listen to this. I'm going back. Just hang with me.
Justices, we were able to do that. Now, I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. I believe strongly in it. Ronald Reagan did also.
I believe strongly in the exceptions. Okay. Interesting. Which that's a statement. And then later on at 22:55, we have
In one
this.
state, it provides prison for life.
Listen.
Trump abortion bans that make no exception even for rape and incest, which understand what that means.
Did you hear that? So she perfectly contradicts what he just said within a minute or two. And do you think there was ever a challenge on that? No, which I don't have a problem with if they were consistent in challenging or not challenging, but they're not. By not challenging that, the propaganda that goes out is what she says about him not having that, the exceptions, and his doesn't, his gets muted by who? The hosts. It gets muted by the hosts. That is completely inappropriate as far as mediation goes. It should never, ever happen. Shouldn't happen. Okay. We got a couple more for you. So hang in there with me. Again, I'm not showing you who to vote for. I'm just telling you that some of this content that's out there in our culture is being distorted so badly. And if you don't pay attention, you're going to be subjected to how badly it is distorted. At 26:21, so here in just a couple seconds, it's going to start. Ready, set,
Same way
go.
that they talked about that they talk about abortion.
But if I could just get a yes or no, because your running mate, J.D. Vance, has said that you would veto it if it did come to your desk.
Well, I did.
Did you hear it? Was there a challenge? And who was challenged? Of course. And people out there are trying to say that this wasn't a rigged debate. Look, y'all got to figure that out. What I'm telling you is from a perspective of mediator, these hosts were awful. And these are the facts to back it up. Again, I'm a therapist. I'm looking for neutrality. This is terrible. Absolutely awful as far as mediation goes. And it should have never been like this. It should never be allowed to be like this. So I'm going to go ahead and at 32:15. Okay. Listen to this.
On that,
Actually puts you first, and I pledge to you that I will.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, on that point, I want to get your response.
Well, I would like to respond.
Let me just ask, though, why
Do you hear that already? But just keep paying attention.
did you try to kill that bill, and successfully so, that would have put thousands of additional agents and officers on the border?
Did you hear the framing of the question? It was confrontational. Why did you veto it? And successfully so. That would have allowed us to have more success. I don't care if you agree with Donald Trump or not. I don't care if you agree with Kamala Harris or not. These hosts suck at their job. From a mediation perspective, That is the only conclusion. And we've only gone a third of the way through it. This was a 90-minute debate, 1/3 of the way. And how many examples did you just get so far? All 100%, 100% in favor of one candidate and at the detriment of another. 100%. Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I gave you 12 examples, factual examples. Folks, you got to decide for yourself. But in a culture where you are being lied to, where secrets are being kept from you, and where there is deceit, you will have massive amounts of brokenness, because it's never been different than this. Lies, secrets, and deceptions destroy relationships. Truth, authenticity, and transparency build trust, which is the foundation of relationships. It's always been that way, folks. And what you just got here was mediators that were so biased and looking to confirm their bias the whole time. And every time they had an opportunity to pounce, they pounced. In some cases, they even made up opportunities. Like, well, there is no law that says you can kill babies. Well, that's true, but that's also not what Donald Trump said. I proved it. I already showed you. Now, again, I'm not telling you who to vote for. Vote. You got to vote. Please vote. Pick your candidate. I'm simply saying, use discernment, folks. Discernment in identifying truth. Use discernment to identify lies, secrets, and deceptions. Because if you don't, we're all going to lose. The biggest loser in this whole thing is you. It's you. You didn't get to see a debate. It wasn't even a debate. It was almost a debate at one moment, but it wasn't a debate. You, actually, because of that, it might have only been 11 pieces, 11 facts that were weighed into Kamala Harris. You have to pay attention, folks, or our culture is going to suffer. It probably already is. No, in fact, factually, it already is suffering. Because you know how many people are believing some of the propaganda that's out there about this stuff? This is not propaganda, folks. I'm not telling you who to vote for, nor do I don't want you to tell me who you're voting for. Don't. None of my business. Just don't do it naively. Don't do it thinking what they want you to believe. Do it thinking about reality. Get yourself grounded in reality and see what happens, folks. I hope this was helpful. I'm simply talking about the debate stuff, not the, the political pick this person over this person. If you're a Kamala Harris fan, you probably appreciate that these hosts were biased and helped her. And if you're a Donald Trump fan, you're probably, thinking that this is absolutely awful. What I'm telling you is I'm not a Donald Trump fan. I've been open about that. And this was absolutely awful. It was awful. This was not neutrality. And if we're going to make decisions, we're going to have to see through this kind of stuff and then pick. Maybe you like Kamala Harris. Maybe you like Donald Trump. But you got to figure that part out on your own. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you next time. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening. We appreciate our audience a lot, so we give you some simple ways to track us down. Please like, subscribe, and follow all the podcasts on different platforms, but you can also email us at healthyperspectives protonmail.com, or you can check out our website at healthy-perspectives.com/podcast. It's a backward slash. So if you want to go to our landing page, if you go to healthy-perspectives.com, you'll still find us. You just got to click on the podcast button. Thank you so much.